Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are live. Yo, 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 what is good, everybody? It is your boy, Lincoln Clay, the godfather of gaming, the ageless wonder, Lincoln Daddy, L Daddy, all that good stuff. You know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the bell icon. If you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. Hope you're enjoying the content. And please excuse me for sounding a little soft spoken. It's morning here. This apartment complex has really thin walls. And so no need to start screaming anyway. So welcome everybody. It's really good to be doing a podcast that's gaming related again. Granted, the situation that I'm in right now, Guy Code, how you doing, man? Granted, the situation that I'm in right now is probably going to be hard to put out content throughout the week in terms of podcasts, but I swear I'll do my best. So I guess to give everybody a little quick update on my situation before we get into the gaming stuff. Again, my weight is slowly coming back. So I'm waking up in the morning at around 199 pounds. So once I get rehydrated, I'm coming back up to about 202. So truth be told, as far as what I want to weigh, I'm probably only 3 pounds away from, getting back to 205 pounds. And, from there, it's up to me to put in the work, to try to build back, whatever muscle I've lost. So there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. Hey, I definitely appreciate it, Guy Code. You guys have been the best. And I've said that before. The amount of support that I've gotten has been overwhelming. And there's been times where I, had to fight back tears from the overwhelming support. I can't thank everybody enough. So I think everything's going to be great. I had to find, I'm still tweaking everything. I've kind of figured out where I'm going to go as far as my diet goes. I've been eating breakfast burritos in the morning. I make them myself, with scrambled eggs, bacon, onion, cheddar cheese, and wrapped in a whole wheat tortilla. So I eat one of those in the morning when I get up, and I eat another one on first break. For lunch at work, I either eat a chicken or a salad or some burger patties. So the diet's going pretty good. As far as the medication goes, I had to find out what was the best time to take this medication because the day that I got this medication, old man in the house, what's up, Robert McLeod? The day that I got this medication, when I took it, there was obviously a reaction because the next day at work, I had the runs all day, which is maybe I shouldn't be saying that. It's a little bit embarrassing, but so I had to change what time I took the medication. So if this happens again, then I'm already at home. It's not a situation where, when I first started catching these runs, same stuff, different day. Yeah. So I was in a situation where the first day that this stuff happened, I wanted to go home, but I couldn't because I didn't want to unnecessarily burn, personal time or take unnecessary points. So I had to tough it out. But, I got that all squared away. I found out the best time to take the medication and I'm not having these run. I haven't had the runs. So everything's going great with the medication. And one good thing about the medication is that I am giving myself insulin shots, but I only need to take an 18 unit shot once a day. Whereas like my mother, for instance, when she gave my father his shots, she was giving him 50 unit shots. So after talking with my mother and, and some of the things that I'm going through, she's confident that I can totally reverse this. Bomb Dia Lincoln. What's up, Spartan God? How you doing, man? It's so good for all of you to join me. Give me a second. Let me grab a drink here. I am drinking a mixed berry flavored Gatorade Zero with 0 carbs, 0 sugar. So it's got a little bit of an aftertaste, but it's still good, ice cold. Yeah, the needles, just the thought of like just the thought of a needle can seem a little bit intimidating, but I'm like, all right, come on, just do it and get it over with. But when you give yourself that shot, that needle goes in so easy that by the time you even say ouch, you already pumped all the insulin in you and you can pull a needle back out. So the whole thing only takes about 15 seconds of your life. Saris is great. What's up? Geico, you said start walking on treadmill or bicycle. Cardio helps you burn off sugar. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing Beat Saber for, Geico, for my cardio, because treadmills gonna bore me to death, and I don't have a bicycle, and not only that, I burn way more calories playing Beat Saber than I would walking on the treadmill. So that's been working out great. I slowly. Spartan guy, no disrespect, Chad, but keep it about gaming and not Lincoln having, you know what? Don't want him to keep thinking about it. Hey, I feel, I'm confident that I'm going to reverse this, Spartan guy. I just want to keep people in the loop and just let everybody know that things are getting better, and I have the utmost confidence that when all is said and done, that this is either going to be totally reversed or it's going to be manageable. So. I think the one thing that I probably have to get used to is this diet that I'm on. It could be for the rest of my life, but even if they told me I could loosen up a little bit, I'm not going back down the road that put me in this position in the first place. So, Robert McCloud, you said for me the trick is finding the right spot so that it does not hurt. Yep, Spartan guy. But since you found out, your voice changed. There's not much pep to it. Yeah, I mean, I'd say the enthusiasm is going to come back as I get further down the road, because I mean, it's, even though things are going great, this thing is still on my mind 24/7, because there are serious consequences if I don't do what I'm told. I mean, blindness, strokes, amputation, all that stuff are factors in diabetes if you don't do as you're told. So. But yeah, I know that my voice sounds a little bit deadpan. I'm still trying to take all this in, and still it's not quite over yet, because I still have to go in for lab work so they can check my pancreas and all that kind of stuff, and then I have to go back again once all my medication runs out, because I've got about a month's worth of medication, and then they're going to check again and then make a determination from there. So it's probably once I get that final determination, maybe that's when maybe you'll hear a little more pop in my voice, a little more pep. You know what I mean? JP Loco, how you doing? Um, so so before we get into gaming, talking about this topic, first of all, I want to give a big shout out to Gamertag VR. This morning I woke up on Twitter and he tagged me, and so I went to go check it out, and so he tagged me as a person to check out my podcast and that kind of stuff, because of how passionate I am about VR. Because I share his enthusiasm for VR, and I definitely want to see VR grow as a whole. So let me see here. Let me see, Robert McCloud. One thing I found out is no matter how healthy you are, you'll still get diabetes. Yep. This is my mother calling. Give me a second, folks. All right. The old grandma stuff. My mother's got some stuff for my son, and I got to take him over there to collect it. So anyway, again, I want to give a big shout out to Gamertag for including me, include my channel as a recommendation for for VR content. And I was also flattered that through my recommendation, gaming science teacher followed me. Um, for those who follow VR 365, she was a guest on his show a couple of times actually. The first time she was a guest on his show, she was getting ready to take her first dip into VR. She had pre-ordered an Oculus Quest, and I guess previously had no contact with VR. So so she was on his show, and after she got her Quest, I think she came back on his show like a couple of weeks later to give her thoughts on the Quest. And so, um, she does have a YouTube channel. She's got a few videos on there playing Moss and that kind of stuff. So I say, go check it out. You know, and I welcome everybody to the VR world. So, and that's great. That we have a female presence in VR. So, so hats off to her. And I'm flattered that she's following me on Twitter. So he said Twitter be throwing a party about a bond being banned. Okay, so give me a second here. I got to clean my glasses, and then we'll be ready to get on with this podcast concerning the title. So. JP Loco, you said I don't think Microsoft is interested in VR because the VR market just isn't up to Microsoft's expectations. Once VR starts growing even more, that's when Microsoft will probably jump in. That makes all the more sense for them to do it for Scarlett. I think there's more reasons for them to do it than for them not to do it, to tell you the truth. Um so I guess let's go back to the beginning. There was an article at Upload VR. I posted I made a post on Twitter earlier this week, and it was an article from Upload VR about whether or not Microsoft and Scarlett needs to get on board with VR or not. And it was a short article, so no need to do the screen sharing. I'll just pretty much paraphrase the article, or maybe even read a small piece of it here. It says, today, some rumors started swirling that Microsoft plans to make the Oculus Rift S compatible with the upcoming new Xbox console, currently codenamed Project Scarlett. So, fine, I can skip over the rest of the article there because there's nothing else informative about it. Theoretically, this would be a great move. The Rift S has built-in tracking with its inside-out system that allows for high-quality 6 DOF headset and 2 DOF controllers. Although support for a Windows mixed reality device like the HP Reverb or Samsung Odyssey would make more sense. Let's stop right there. That I disagree with. I do not think it makes more sense for Microsoft to make the HP Reverb or Samsung Odyssey compatible with the Xbox because their mixed reality store does not support these headsets. Microsoft pretty much invented the mixed reality, technology, but they're not supporting it because from what I understand, the mixed reality store is dead. They don't hardly have shit in there. And I think mixed reality might be on its way out because I saw Anthony of VR 365. When I saw his show, he pointed out that headsets like the Acer mixed reality headset, I think, has been discounted and maybe even continued. So mixed reality could be on its way out. Microsoft went out of their way to create this technology and try to get people to adopt this technology, but they're not supporting it because I understand the Windows mixed reality store barely has shit in there. So in my opinion, it doesn't make any sense for them to go through all that work to make the HP Reverb or the Samsung Odyssey or any other mixed reality headset compatible with the Xbox ecosystem if you don't have any content in this store to support it. So it makes no sense. Gamertag VR, what is up? Again, while you're here, I want to take a minute to thank you for recommending me on Twitter for recommending my channel for VR content. I definitely appreciate it. It is an honor. So I think it makes more sense for Microsoft to go ahead and include the Oculus Rift S rather than one of these mixed reality headsets to be compatible with Scarlett. So moving on. It says consumer VR will be in the middle of its 5th year of existence by the time the Xbox Scarlett releases, and Sony will be releasing or at least prepping the release of its second PSVR headset, while Oculus, HTC Valve, and PC side of Microsoft all continue to push their VR options forward. So that's pretty much the end of the article. Hey, thanks a lot, Gamertag. I really appreciate it. Ice Queen Gaming, Dawn, how are you? So I'll give my take on whether what Microsoft finally, if they decide to do this. First of all, I'll say that I think it does make more sense for them to do it, for them not to do it. Because for one thing, I think it would be a simple move for Microsoft. They don't have to manufacture any headsets, and Microsoft wouldn't even need to provide any of the VR content. All they would need to do is like let the Rift S be compatible with Xbox Scarlett, and with the rumor of Xbox Scarlett supposedly having as much power as it's going to have, because I guess it's supposed to have power, pretty much the same as the PlayStation 5. The Xbox Scarlett should easily be able to handle whatever VR content is out there. So this would be a great time for Microsoft, in my opinion, to go ahead and get involved in VR, in terms of the growth of the industry. And Anthony of VR 365, he had a podcast where he basically read an article. He read an interview from Jason Rubin, who I believe is connected to Oculus or Facebook, and I guess he said something that was disturbing to Anthony of VR 365. I guess currently games are made for the Oculus Rift and they're scaled down for the Quest, but I guess after like Asgard's Wrath and Lone Echo 2, after those games comes out, it's going to go in the other direction, where I guess they develop games for the Oculus Quest and then enhance them for the Rift S. So a lot of people, I guess people are concerned about the functionality, and they feel like because of they feel like the Quest is a little more limited than PC VR, so they think that might compromise their experience a little bit. But I will say this: I think if Oculus is going to start developing games off of a mobile processor, there's no reason why Xbox Scarlett shouldn't be able to handle whatever Oculus puts out. And then I think Microsoft wouldn't even need to they wouldn't even need to create a store. I think they could just do just like hey, Amiris, how's it going? I think Microsoft could just basically let Oculus import their store, the Oculus store, into the Xbox store. So I don't think Microsoft really would have to do that much. All they got to do is my guess is, make whatever contract they need to make and then just open the door and let Oculus come in. Excuse me. Now, what kind of impact do I think that would have? You said Microsoft getting involved would just cheapen VR. I don't know, Amiris. You know what I think it would do? I think it would open the doors wide open, because it would give developers another avenue to to try to make money. And I think the biggest impact, if Microsoft were to get involved in VR, I think the biggest impact would be felt on the AAA developers. Like EA, for instance. That's the one thing I've been begging for, is to get some kind of full-blown football game in VR. I think with Microsoft getting involved and bringing VR to the Xbox platform, that might be enough to go ahead and tempt EA to give it a try. Because now they got, excuse me, because now you got the PS5, you would have the Xbox, and you would have PC. So EA would have 3 revenue streams if they wanted to try to create some kind of VR mode in Madden. I think that would be enough to push EA to give it a shot. I think it would be enough to push people like 2K to give it a shot. Because who wouldn't want to play a full-blown sports game in VR? You know what I mean? Because PC alone probably wouldn't be enough to tempt EA to do something. As of right now, the PlayStation VR format would probably be the most lucrative format where they could make money, but the current PlayStation VR hardware is limited. So when next generation comes along and Scarlett and PS5 are pretty much have the same specs and they're pretty much going to be super powerful consoles, I don't see any reason why EA couldn't make that happen. So when you look at it from a technological standpoint and a hardware standpoint, I don't see any reason why they couldn't do it. They wouldn't be limited. They wouldn't have to compromise their development. They wouldn't have to make it for the PC and then water it down for the consoles, because these consoles are going to be powerful as fuck. So I think they would be able to develop it and just like go ahead and spread it out on all 3 platforms, and not have to, like I said, make any compromises in terms of watering down the product itself. And so the 3 platforms combined, PC, PlayStation VR, as well as Rift S being on the Xbox platform, that could be enough to make them give it a shot. And for this kind of reason, we need VR to grow as much as possible. The more people to get involved in VR, the better chances we get of getting the kind of content that we want to see in the future. Because right now, that's the only thing that I'm missing right now in VR. I want to be able to, like we had it with Drive Club. Even though the graphics were crappy, we had excuse me, we had the ability to race online in VR. It was there. Sony delivered it to us. And I see no reason why they won't do it with GT Sport next generation. So I think one hurdle is going to be tackled next generation. So now the only thing that's missing for me is sports games. To be able to play Madden, to be able to play 2K, to be able to play MLB The Show, and NHL hockey. If every single one of those sports were fully playable in VR, they would probably end up getting my money, because I would end up buying those sports games every single year, even though like in this current state, like Madden, all you get is a roster update and a couple little tweaks that you pay $60 a year for. If they brought a fully playable Madden game to VR, they would get my money every year. I'm not going to lie. Because I think any little tweaks that they would make on the game would be magnified in VR. It would be definitely noticeable in VR. So I'm definitely all for it. Now, me personally, if Microsoft would have went ahead and followed through with this generation, I probably would have bought an Xbox One X. When Microsoft didn't follow through with the high fidelity VR that was promised, there was no reason for me to purchase the Xbox One X. But the fact that they mentioned it tells you that the Xbox One X is VR compatible in some way, shape, or form. JD Max, you said those rumors that are looking solid that the Rift S will be compatible with Scarlett. As I had said before, JD Max, I think it makes more sense to me because, for one, the Xbox Scarlett, like the PS5, will both be powerful enough to run VR. and they'll be powerful enough that developers won't be limited. They'll only be limited by whether they think it's a market for it or not. And then with the direction that Oculus seems to be headed, where I guess they're going to go backwards and start developing games for the Quest and then enhance them for the Rift S. That's even less to me, that feels like even less software that's going to tax the consoles. It's going to make it even easier for the consoles to run the hardware. So for me, it makes more sense for them to do it than for them not to do it, because I don't really think, in my opinion, I think money wise, I don't think it's going to cost Microsoft a lot of money to get involved in VR, since they're not going to be manufacturing the headset. And chances are they're probably not going to produce any VR content. All they're probably going to do is just have a VR section in the Microsoft store and let Oculus import all their content over there. And any other person who wants to put their content on the Oculus store. I don't think Microsoft is going to make one single VR game. But even if they don't have to, all they have to do is just let it come to their platform, and that will help the growth of their industry. So, 1 second, folks. Let me get enough drink. Again, going back to the current generation, if Microsoft would have followed through with high fidelity VR this generation, chances are I would have bought an Xbox One X, and not even that. I'm not so sure that I would have bought a gaming PC had Microsoft followed through, but they didn't. And now, because of that, now where the too little too late part comes in is next generation, when Scarlett and PS5 comes out, and let's say that Microsoft does get on board with high fidelity VR, or bring the Oculus Rift S to the Xbox platform, I still won't have a need for it, because I'm already going to buy the PS5. And a lot of the third-party games that will be on the Xbox platform will be on the PlayStation VR platform. But I will say the one advantage that Microsoft might have over PSVR, and not exactly an advantage, but a reason for people to come to the Xbox platform for VR, is I think that if they let Oculus import their store over to the Xbox store, then the Oculus exclusives, the Xbox Scarlett will probably be the only console that you would be able to play any of the Oculus exclusives on, because I don't really see Oculus and PlayStation working together. I don't really see a situation where you're going to find Oculus content at the PlayStation store and vice versa. So with that being said, let's say, for instance, games like Lone Echo 2, when that comes out, the only place you would probably be able to play them is on PC and on Xbox Scarlett. JD Max, after a few months with my gaming PC and Rift, I can say I missed the ease of use of the PSVR. Yeah, I can agree with that. And yes, PSVR is awesome, but I think with the power that the Xbox Scarlett and the PS5 is supposed to have, they're going to be within earshot of PC VR gaming. So I don't think you're going to see a situation where, like, when PS5 and Xbox Scarlett comes out and they have VR on both of them, I don't think you're going to have a situation where you play Pavlov on PC and then you jump over and play it on the PS5 or on Xbox Scarlett by way of Oculus Rift S. I don't think you're going to see much of a difference with the graphics, because all three platforms are going to have a lot of power. So with that being said, again, I don't think you're going to have a situation where the content PC VR offers is just next to none. That is true. There's way more content, but again, if Xbox brings VR to Scarlett, all of them will have something to offer. PlayStation will have their exclusives. You should be able to access Oculus exclusives on on the Xbox Scarlett format, and then you got PC. So, no matter which direction you go, there'll be something there for everybody. And again, for the growth of the industry, I think that would be huge. I think that would be phenomenal. And developers that probably thought there wasn't a market for VR currently, they could easily change their mind next generation. So, and the other reason why it makes sense is because as we see by now, we see that Microsoft has turned into like a third party. They basically turned into a third party game developer, game publisher now, and they're trying to stretch out in every direction. With Game Pass going on, trying to get on every single device. With games going to Steam now, Microsoft letting games go into Steam now. Microsoft is trying to reach in every single direction. So why wouldn't they go ahead and get involved in VR now, especially when they don't have to do any of the development work? All they have to do is just open their platform up to VR. They don't have to do anything. Cyber Dragon, what's up? Like I said, they're providing a console which is going to have more than enough power with Scarlett. Again, they don't have to develop the headset because they're going to make it, if they make it compatible with the Rift S. And then with the Rift S having inside out tracking, there's not going to be any extra hardware to hook up in terms of cameras and sensors and all that kind of stuff. All you probably going to need to do is just plug it right into Xbox Scarlett and go. It's probably going to be super easy to hook up on the Scarlett. Probably just download the Oculus app onto the Xbox Scarlett and go. It's probably going to be really, really easy. Robert Evans, we talking about getting Xbox VR? Is Phil getting fired? If they bring VR to Xbox Scarlett, I will say that will be the one good thing that Phil did do. It's like 3-4 years later, but yeah, it would be a good thing. But yeah, I just read an article from Upload VR that is rumored that Microsoft is going to make the Rift S compatible with Xbox Scarlett. So so I've been breaking down how I think that's going to help out the industry. I think it's going to help out the industry. And there's probably going to be a few people who will try it just for the simple fact that they're loyal to Microsoft. So we'll get a few more people on board. No question about that. We'll get a few more people on board. It could extend the console war, though. You could have PlayStation VR people arguing with Xbox Scarlett people that are using Rift headsets. You could the console war could go on in that sense, but hell, if it still helps the VR industry grow, so be it. I'll take it. So we're 33 minutes into this podcast. I thought I was going to have a lot to say, but I guess I don't have much more to say. Emilio, bringing bringing VR to Xbox will be all well and good, but do you think they would be able to keep up the demand of VR games based on their track record? And see, Emilio, as I was saying, I don't think even if Microsoft allows VR to come to Xbox Scarlett, I don't think Microsoft is going to develop not one single VR game. I think all they're going to do is just open up their platform and let Oculus import their store over to the Xbox Scarlett. So when you want to, buy a VR game, you basically go to the VR section of the Microsoft store, and you're probably going to see a ton of Oculus and third-party content there. Microsoft doesn't have to do a single thing in terms of developing games. All they have to do is let them onto the platform. Now, I think Sony's situation is a little bit different because Sony has put out some compelling VR exclusives that people are probably looking forward to a sequel for. Sony has put out some great VR games like Astrobot, Farpoint, Firewall, Blood and Truth, to name a few. And they've got some more on the way with with Iron Man VR. I think I'm not sure if Golem is going to be a PlayStation VR exclusive, but it's on the way. But the reason why Sony's in a little bit different of a position is because I don't think Sony can just like say, okay, we're done developing VR games and just let everybody else, put their shit on our platform. People want those VR Sony VR games. Because as of right now, when it comes to VR exclusives, I think Oculus and Sony have put the most money into their games. Because like Lone Echo looked like a high budget VR game. By far, I think the best VR game that I've ever seen. I'm definitely looking forward to VR Lone Echo 2. I mean, it's supposed to come out this year, so by the time it reaches by the time it would have reached Xbox Scarlett, the game will probably be a couple of years old, but I still think the game would sell pretty well on Scarlett, because you'd have a console that would be able to easily run that game. Christopher Hart, you said there's always this amazing VR content coming to gamers now, so Microsoft might want to jump on VR before it's too late. Absolutely, because VR is still definitely growing. It's starting to pop up everywhere now. The Oculus Quest, I think the Oculus Quest is going to, at the very least, catch up to PlayStation VR. I think it might take a couple of years for it to happen, but I think it's definitely going to happen. And I think when the Oculus Quest comes down to $300, I think they're going to fly off the shelves even faster. From what I'm seeing right now, I think the Oculus Quest, I think I've heard that the Oculus Quest have sold over 1 million headsets right now. The 64 gig headsets are sold out. You can't get them anywhere. There's a few of the 128 gig headsets here and there. So now I'm led to believe that I'm under the impression that maybe Oculus wants to run out what's left of the 128 gig headsets before they start restocking the 64 gig headsets. Because I went to the Walmart site and if I want to 128 gig Oculus Quest for $500, it's available to order. You can have it. You can have it delivered to the store. But there's no 64 gigs available. So I'm thinking that Oculus is waiting until they run out the stock of 128 gigs before they restock the 64s. Which I guess is kind of hard for them to blame them for that. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, I really don't want to buy a 128 gig because after talking to my son numerous times, it sounds like the 64 gig is all I need, because my son definitely wants an Oculus Quest, but he doesn't sound like he wants a shit ton of games. The two games that he really wants to make sure is Pavlov and Five Nights at Freddy's. But I definitely think the Oculus Quest is going to catch the PlayStation VR over time. And I think, I don't know. I also think the possible drought of 64 gig headsets might be genuine. Christopher Hart, you said Xbox doing all this now. It's way too late. Now, look, two things about that, Christopher Hart. The good news is they're finally doing it. The bad news is, yes, well, at least it sounds like they're going to do it. Let me stop jumping to conclusions. But you know what I think is finally making them get on board with it, and there's not so much hardware capability. I think they're finally doing it now because of that cha-ching that Sony did, with VR. Because I think Sony made over $2 billion on PlayStation VR, despite people trying to call it a failure and say that it underperformed and all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't call $2 billion in revenue underperforming or a failure. So I think Microsoft saw that $2 billion and was like, okay, there is some money in VR. So rather than go off and build their own shit, they just called Oculus and like, hey, you okay? We're ready to get on board with this VR. You want to bring your shit on over to our platform? I think it went that easy. said we forgot about the tariffs. Part for these headsets are going to be scarce. Yeah. But I do believe that a lot of these VR headsets do appear to be durable. So I'm led to believe that if you take care of them, they should last. So, trying to think if there's anything VR related that I want to talk about before I get ready to wrap it up. So, I guess on a VR note, for those of you who have a firewall, I'm not. No, I'm talking about supply versus demand. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, that definitely applies as far as the Oculus Quest goes, because they're in demand and there's no 64 gig headsets. There's a few 128 gigs scattered out about. So I'll have a talk with my son. I really don't want to drop another $100 for the 500 gig headset, especially if I feel it's unnecessary. But hell, I very well could end up still ordering it this weekend, depending on what happens. Ooh, excuse me. Let me have another drink here while I'm at it. Be right back, folks. Let me grab a drink of Gatorade Zero. Okay, everybody, I'm back, and I'll be ready to wrap this up pretty soon because I think I've pretty much said everything that I can think of. But in a nutshell, Microsoft getting on board with VR. Will it help? Will it help the growth of the industry? I believe so. Absolutely, it certainly won't hurt it. Um, and again, it's I have no need. I have no need for Xbox Scarlett. I'm not sure if I'll end up getting it or not. For my son, I'm not sure. I guess I'll have to see how that goes. See how much they price it, all that kind of stuff. Because if they price Xbox Scarlett at $400, because I right now I think that's really the only way that Xbox Scarlett is going to be able to compete with the PlayStation 5 is to price it at $400. If they price Xbox Scarlett at $400, naturally the PS5 is still going to blow it out of the water because of the because they'll have more exclusive content. Because I'll be damned if I pay $500 or $600 for a console so I can play Bleeding Edge, a rainbow colored kitty looking game. That's just wouldn't fly with me. So I think they got to price Scarlett at $400. If they do that, I think that would give Scarlett a fighting chance against the PlayStation 5. And in the beginning, I was hoping that Scarlett would be dead on arrival, but this is probably the one time that I'm probably hoping for them to be successful, because if they sell enough units, that might that could be the determining factor on whether they pull the trigger on VR or not. Because I've got the funny feeling that I'm not sure that the VR thing is going to be up and running and ready to go when the console launches. Microsoft might sit back and look at the market and see if it's still profitable. And if they think it's not profitable, then they won't do it. And since they never officially announced it, it'll just fly under the radar and they won't get criticized for it. Ooh, ice cold water. So this will probably be the one time that I will be pulling for Xbox Scarlett, because I have a vested interest in seeing it succeed a little bit, because if the console succeeds, then Microsoft, that's better our chances of Microsoft supporting VR. When was the last time an Xbox system was successful? Xbox 360. Based on that situation with the Red Ring of Death, I'm not exactly sure I can call the 360 a success. So, but I'm gonna get ready to wrap it up here in a minute. You know what, Emirs? I can't agree with that. You said I understand, dude, but I feel Microsoft will ruin VR for its fans. I can't agree with that. Here's why. Because again, I don't think Microsoft is going to develop. Lincoln, have you seen my photos on Twitter? No, I have not, Don, but I will go back and check them out. Now, here's the thing, Amiris. Again, I was saying that I don't think, even if Microsoft gets involved in VR, I don't think they're going to develop any games. They barely develop any games for flat screen. So I can't really see them developing games for VR. I think all they're going to do is just open the door, tell Oculus to come on in and just let things run the way it run, and let Oculus do what they're going to do on the Xbox platform, but just take their cut of it. And I think that's going to be it. I think once VR comes to the Xbox platform, what happens to it from there? What happened to it from there depends on the developers that's on the format, whether they get too fucking greedy and start putting in all kinds of crazy microtransactions and season passes and shit like that. Because I don't think I don't think Microsoft's going to have anything to do with that, because they're just going to step aside, let everybody, let Oculus come in. You said Square Enix used to be amazing. They have the Microsoft stink on them now. Their games are not the same. Now that's probably the only area where I see Microsoft meddling with the VR with the VR format is, let's say a third party developer has a game that's a hit on PC, right? And they want to bring it to both PlayStation and Xbox Scarlett. Now, I could probably see Microsoft paying them a few bucks to let the game come to, the Xbox Scarlett and be like a 30-day Xbox VR exclusive. And then after that, it opens up and goes to the PlayStation. I can see Microsoft doing something like that. But other than that, I really don't see them meddling with VR too much. And as much as I don't like Microsoft, I think we need Microsoft to get involved in VR in order for us to get the kind of experience that I want to see. I want to be able to play a Killzone fully playable in VR. I want to be able to play, but that, Killzone is a Sony exclusive, so that's on them. That doesn't really have anything to Microsoft do with Microsoft. So I'll go back to using, Madden as an example. Microsoft getting involved in VR on the Xbox format, that might be enough to go ahead and tempt developers like EA and 2K to finally say, okay, we'll give it a shot and make, one of these games fully playable in VR. Because like right now for EA, there's just PlayStation and PC VR. To them, that might not be enough, but you add Scarlett into the mix, and I will say that I think if even if Microsoft doesn't provide a lot of compelling content for the Xbox Scarlett, I do think that if they price this console at $400 at launch, I think they're going to sell more consoles than the Xbox One X, and I think it's going to be way more successful than the Xbox One X. And I think that's going to tempt some AAA developers to try to go ahead and get on board with this VR thing, because none of this doesn't happen if Microsoft falls flat on their face with Scarlett. Uh, I think if Scarlett falls flat on his face, no, I don't think we get any VR support. So I think it's step by step. Scarlett, I think if Scarlett gets off to a great start and VR still shows signs of growing, then I think yes, I think Microsoft does go ahead and take a chance and allow Oculus to set up camp on the Xbox format, and allow third party developers to go ahead and jump on the format too. So the more people that's involved in VR, the better. No, I don't see Robert McLeod. I don't see Microsoft providing content whatsoever. They barely provide content as it is. So it'd be a pipe dream to think they're going to provide content for VR. All they're going to do is, like I said, all they're going to do is just open the door and let Oculus in. They not. That's all they're going to do. They ain't going to do shit else. So, but I'm gonna get ready to boogie on out of here. I've been on here for almost an hour. I do want to remind everybody that has Firewall that this weekend is double XP weekend. So jump on out there, play some Firewall, and rack up that XP, because the more you level up on Firewall, the more of a grind it becomes. So get on out there, get that XP. I did pick up Vader Immortal when it became available for the Oculus Rift. So hopefully, I'll try to play that this weekend, because I got to take off and go get my son in a couple of hours. Once he gets over here, that's a wrap. He gonna take over the PC. He don't even really play his X. The only time he even touches his Xbox One X is if he wants to play with his friends and they all get together and party chat. But if he's playing by himself, no, he's on the PC playing Pavlov, Five Nights at Freddy's, or playing Gears of War on the PC, because of the higher frame rates and that kind of stuff. So, just a reminder, there's still some great games coming out. The 2019 still stands to be the best year for VR. We still got, Iron Man VR coming. No Man's Sky VR. Aspire looks like that's going to be a great VR game. Hey, thanks, Amirs. I think Phantom Co-op, Covert Ops, that Splinter Cell looking game looks like it's the Splinter Cell from a kayak. I think that's going to be an amazing game. I absolutely can't wait for Asgard's Wrath. That's going to be another great game. So a lot of stuff still coming down the pipe for VR. It's still going to be a great year. I will. Mega Dave O, what's up? I will play some Firewall this weekend. I don't know what time I'm going to play it. Jemiah Dixon, what's up? I don't know what time I'm going to play Firewall, but I will play it and I will stream it. Again, because my son is, once he gets here, he's going to have the PC on lockdown. He's going to have the TV on lockdown, all that stuff. But I will find a way to get some kind of a stream in this weekend. And with that being said, I think it's time for me to boogie on out of here. It's 11 o'clock. Well, 20 minutes to 11. So I got about 2 hours before I got to leave to pick up my son. So I don't know. I might lay around on my ass and be lazy. I still got to work out today too. So might go ahead and do that next. But in any case, thanks everybody for watching. And I'm sure I'll talk to you guys again sometime this weekend. I guess we'll have to see how I feel tomorrow. At this point, I want to tentatively say that I will plan on being on the PlayStation Legion tomorrow. barring some conditions that are unforeseen. So with that being said, thanks everybody for tuning in. Give it a like, comment, share, all that good stuff. And I'm sure I'll see you guys again sometime today. You guys have a good one. Make sure y'all play some games or get out and enjoy the weather. Whatever it is you're gonna do, it's the weekend, so enjoy it. I will holler at y'all later. Y'all have a good one.